Well, good morning, good afternoon, whatever time it is. We are so grateful that you are here today with us on Surviving and Thriving in a Pandemic. We have a excellent presentation to you, a special presentation that I really want you to take heed to. We're talking about brain health, and most importantly, our topic today is memories can heal. We have an excellent presenter here today, Dr. Monroe Butler. He is a neurologist and an associate medical director at Biogen. And we're going to get into a great conversation today. I want to introduce you to him first, and then we'll let you know in a video segment in a few minutes. So, welcome,
Thank you for
Dr.
having me.
Butler. Thank you. Welcome to Surviving and Thriving in a Pandemic on Hope TV. We're happy that you're here today. We're happy that we're talking about brain health, and we're going to get to some great discussion today. But, folks, right now, I want you to look at this presentation that we have, a short video presentation, just to let you know what's happening today. We'll be right back.
Whenever I hear the old school Madhouse on Madison Chicago Bulls theme music, I'll always think of going to games with my dad as a little girl. Whenever I see my Winnie the Pooh, I think of my dad who bought it at Disney World for me and then carried it all the way from Florida to Chicago for me. My dad made this turkey sandwich for me when I was recovering from my transplant, and I can remember feeling how heavy it was with turkey, but also his thumbprint in it that let me know that it was made with love. Whenever I smell breakfast cooking, I think of my dad and how he would make breakfast on weekends and leave a plate in my bed for me to eat. I remember the last conversation I had with my dad before he passed away. He asked my mom, do I have somewhere to go? Do I have a home? Because every time I wake up, I'm here, which was in the hospital. And so, we FaceTimed and we talked. And I was able to take my phone and show him around the house, show him his office, his bedroom, his bathroom. And he said, I remember. And for me, I felt that was a healing moment because he knew he belonged somewhere. He knew he had a home where people loved him. And so at the end of that conversation, my dad told me, I love you. And I said, I love you too. And then he said, I love you more. And so that memory is healing for me because in the midst of a, traumatic situation, I can say the last thing my dad said to me was, I love you more. Hi, my name is Quinn Taylor, and I work with the Heal Collaborative, where we work with faith-based organizations, local community organizations, patient advocacy groups, and state legislators to make communities of color healthier. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Memories Can Heal Brain Health Community Conversation. This conversation is important because African Americans are up to 2 times more likely to develop Alzheimer's than Caucasians. We need to be empowered and educated about brain health. I want to thank our sponsor, Biogen, and Dr. Monroe Butler as our content expert who will help educate us today on what Alzheimer's is, dementia, what's the difference between the two, and symptoms. Alzheimer's isn't just about memory loss. It can be a personality change. It can be trouble problem solving and with numbers. There are many symptoms that go along with memory loss when you have Alzheimer's and or dementia. We're going to hear stories from caregivers who share what it's like to care for someone with memory loss. It's hard, and we want to make sure that we use our platform to amplify their voices and their stories. Also, memories can heal. We want to ensure that we encourage you to keep those family conversations going. It's the only way to retain our history, and it can be a healing moment. Keep talking to the elders in your family and not only jog their memory about things that have happened in the past, but also create new memories to keep in your heart as they pass along. We are so grateful that you have attended, and we can't wait to give you the best show that we can. So I'll be learning along with you. Let's learn together. And thank you again for attending.
So, Dr. Butler, that was an excellent presentation. I thank you for that. And I hope that you all got some more information and insight on what we're going to be discussing today. And of course, the first thing we're talking about is brain health. Dr. Monroe Butler, could you just share with us where you're from and what you're doing here today?
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
Mhm.
I was born in Michigan, raised in California, educated in the Midwest, and now I work in the East. So I work
Come
in
on.
Boston, and I'm a neurologist by training and a dementia expert within neurology. The field called behavioral neurology is dementia expertise that I've developed, and now I'm working to develop new treatments for dementia. We don't have a lot of good treatments for dementia, and so I'm doing work to identify the best ways to diagnose dementia early and to slow it down to maximize our brain health.
Mm. Oh my goodness. It's such a needed resource for all of us and study. So you have lived everywhere, basically. You lived everywhere. And I heard you even got a theological background.
Yes, I was raised in the Christian tradition, and I knew from very early on I wanted to be a doctor. I knew that
Mm.
what I wanted to do was to help people in terms of the body. But
Hmm.
we're more than that, right? We're spirit and mind and body. And so
Yes.
I pursued a lot of my interests in theology and some of those tough questions that we all wrestle with before I went to medical school. And I really value that time to kind of have grounded me and connect me with some of the important faith traditions that we depend on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we still have questions, right? We're still wrestling with the theodicy of why things happen. So I'm excited about this topic again, brain health, and the subject is memories can heal. When we talk about dementia and Alzheimer's, oftentimes we use them interchangeably, but they're not. If you can give us a definition of what Alzheimer's is and dementia, that would be helpful.
Yeah, this is it's a great question. It's something that's well, there's a lot of confusion about how people
Mm.
use those words. So dementia is an umbrella term, much like cancer, right? And there's
Mm.
many types. You've got lung and skin cancer. Similarly, dementia, there's many types. And so Alzheimer's is the most common type or form of dementia. But the term refers to disorders of brain health
Mm.
that there's a decline in someone's memory and thinking, and that decline is significant enough that it impacts their ability to function day to day. And so that's
Mhm.
a broad definition and a lot of different ways that it can happen. And Alzheimer's is the most common. 3 out of 4 cases of dementia, Alzheimer's is the culprit. And so
Mm.
it's front of mind. When we say dementia, usually people are thinking about Alzheimer's.
Okay. So dementia is the umbrella. Underneath the umbrella, one of the uh, one of the types of dementia would be Alzheimer's, and that's one of the most common ones. That's what you're saying. That's what I hear.
E- Exactly. There's dozens of causes, and we don't need to go down that laundry list, that bad laundry list. But
Mm.
Alzheimer's leads the charge, and
Mm.
there's a few other common causes, some that are in the Parkinson's disease space.
Mm.
Lewy body dementia is another common one, and
Mm.
vascular, where people have strokes or cognitive impairment from vascular disease. Those are some of the other common, behind Alzheimer's, common causes of dementia.
Okay. So when I'm thinking about Alzheimer's, or I'm thinking about even signs of dementia, one thing I think about is when I go into a room and I forgot why I went into the room, and we start getting nervous, or you leave your keys, you don't know where your keys are. What are some symptoms that we need to be concerned about? What are some symptoms, first of all, for dementia, and then what are some symptoms we need to be concerned about?
Mhm. Yeah, so the most common complaint I get in my memory clinic is misplacing a personal item or having trouble remembering an acquaintance's name. And
Mm.
so it's a very common thing as we age that our attention goes down just a little bit, such that we think there's problems with memory, right? Our mind is doing a dozen things. We're paying attention to what we think is important, and you can't do everything at once. And so a lot of times people feel like they might be becoming a bit more forgetful, but it's really an attention issue, and that's okay. That happens with age, is little declines in that. So where there's declines there, we actually get better at doing other things as we age, right? We talk about wisdom coming with age and experience. And so, you know, think about how you approached a problem when you were 20 years old. You might have been excited and just wanted to apply your energy to it, but maybe you didn't have the best strategy compared to when you're 50 and you've been there and you've done that and you know exactly how to approach the problem. So we've got these common changes, word finding, you know, forgetting why you came into that room, right? Because your mind is doing 15 other things. And when do we need to be worried? When are we tipping the balance into a sign or a symptom that should have us worried about Alzheimer's? Well, unfortunately, it's confusing because it's memory. Again, short-term memory pops up and people have trouble remembering what they talked about yesterday with their loved one. They have trouble remembering that important date. They have trouble remembering where they put that personal item, like the keys. If there's a persistent pattern of short-term memory problems, and it seems to be getting worse over time, that's really concerning. Most of the time, Alzheimer's presents with short-term memory problems. So the person repeats themselves in the conversation because they forgot that they had just said that 10 minutes ago. And it's not happening once, but it's happening over time repeatedly, this kind of an experience. But 1 out of 10 cases of Alzheimer's, memory is not the first symptom. So we got to pay attention to language, how people are using words, and we have to pay attention to how people are functioning in the world. Are they able to pay their taxes on time? Are they able to make the appointments? Are they able to juggle everything that they typically can juggle? And so early symptoms, short-term memory, changes in your attention, changes in language are the things to watch out for, but not to be frightened about one-time little experiences here and there. But once you see things getting worse slowly over time, that's cause for concern.
We're back on our Thanksgiving installation.
Hey, Dad. I need your help asking Jessica to prom.
Of course. Love is like the ocean. You have to tread the
Oh,
waters.
Dad, that's not the kind of help I needed. Hey, Jessica. Will you go to prom with me?
Yes.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care can't wait to share their first with you.
I'm also curious about, because I work with mental health, and sometimes we can misdiagnose depression or other mental health disorders with dementia. Could you expound on that just a little?
Yes, this is a common partner to dementia is change in mood and anxiety, depression, and by that I mean clinical anxiety and clinical depression.
Not self-diagnosed.
So
Not self-diagnosed.
exactly, but it's so common, and it's even more common than we think because we're just now talking about it, right? With your grandparents, you were not talking about clinical depression, right? This was something, mom was the word. You didn't talk as much about emotions in those days. So my hunch is mood disorders, while they're common, they're even more common than we think. And they can come alongside dementia. So someone may have never had a history of anxiety or depression, but suddenly at the age of 65, they find themselves very worried for no reason, very anxious, feeling guilty for no reason. And it comes out of the blue, seemingly out of the blue. And it's a manifestation of a dementia that's coming on. This is very common in Alzheimer's, where those early memory symptoms come along with changes in mood, how much energy someone has, how engaged, how much pleasure they can feel in their daily life. And so we have to be on the lookout for those two coming together. Now, I think behind your question, though, is sometimes can't depression masquerade as a dementia? Can it be something that seems like someone might be developing dementia? And that can be the case. In my clinical experience, it's rarely so severe coming out of the blue in late life that that's the only reason that someone is having cognitive impairment. So to me, it's an iceberg that you got to explore that terrain and see what else might be going on, because there's so much we can do to slow that down, to reverse that, or to improve someone's overall mental health.
I love that. I love that iceberg visual because that's truly what it is. It's an iceberg. And we have to do that exploration. So I love that you mentioned that. And I'm also thinking about, I know it's just a scary topic. This can be a scary topic. It's taboo, like you mentioned before. We didn't talk about it. Now we're talking about it a little bit. But now, even the reactions to diagnosis, what does that look like when people find out, or denial? Basically, that would be an issue as well. But what are some reactions to diagnosis that you have seen?
Hmm. This is a good question. And if you've met one person with dementia, you've met one person with dementia.
So good.
And there's an individual response that is unique to every situation. And when I think of my patients with dementia, I always think of twos. I think of dyads because I take care of the patient and the loved one who is on that journey with that individual. Sometimes that's a child, right? That's a son or a daughter. Sometimes that's a spouse, right? And it's that dyad and the reaction that dyad has that is so unique. It's sad, but in some cases, dementia robs our insight, our knowledge that something is wrong. Usually when you're anxious, you know you're anxious and you can tell your doctor, I'm worried, and I'm worried that I'm worried. But with dementia, oftentimes patients will say they'll be underwhelmed by their own symptoms and say, yes, I'm having some trouble with my memory, but the magnitude of the problem is quite hidden from their field of view. And that's sad, and it's also dangerous. This is how individuals can get themselves into trouble, especially if they're socially isolated, right? Living alone, leaving that oven or that burner on, right? There can be really disastrous consequences. So in terms of the reaction to the diagnosis, sometimes you have diminished insight in the patient, but preserved, of course, in the loved one, and you get the sort of appropriate emotional response, which is sadness. This is incurable. It's a death sentence to be told someone has dementia, and we don't have a lot we can do right now to stave it off, to slow it down. And so that's a grief reaction that you start to see in people, and it doesn't always happen in that visit where you're talking about it. Sometimes you have them come back in a few weeks, or you follow up, and it takes time. It takes time, and people respond in the ways that people respond, right? You got your planners that they get the notebook out and they're talking about how they're going to change their end of life kind of planning, and then others are thinking about their relationship networks and how can I maximize the time with my loved ones, and so as many types of people and as many individuals there are with dementia, as many reactions as you get to the diagnosis.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about how everything is probably even magnified as we're in this pandemic right now. When you talked about isolation, we've been in here
Mm,
almost 20 months, and the isolation that just the average senior is experiencing, and how even for us, younger people, how that's been impacting us. So I'm thinking about
mhm.
that, the loss that you spoke of on many levels, that grief on many levels, and then we layer that with dementia, and so that's a lot happening in a couple of years, and then we don't even know the long term effects of what's going to happen. So
Yeah,
I'm thinking about.
this
Go ahead.
is uncharted territory where we are right now. And we've always known that the
Hmm.
future is unknowable, but what we can apply is the past. There's hope in the past, there's hope in a memory. And so the question is, how do we preserve recollection? How do we preserve memory and keep it as vibrant and alive for as long as possible?
That's great. That is such a great segue into the intuition study highlight.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jermaine Dolly, Mr. Hello Dolly himself, and guess what? You're tuned in to Tea and Worship with my homies, Mignon and Corey. Keep it locked, y'all.
Hey y'all, it's Candy West, and you're watching Tea and Worship with Mignon and Corey.
It's your boy James Fortune, and you are watching my favorite news show, Tea and Worship, with my sis Mignon and Corey.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Every discipline starts with creating a habit. Find a plan that works for you. I know you can put a reminder in your phone, call so-and-so in 30 days. You can't use the excuse that, oh, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert. You know, stuff people like to say. Nah, if you're not outgoing, right, you better get going, because that's the only way networking works.
We're talking about preserving, we're talking about preventing, and then even just acknowledging what's happening with us. And so let's pivot a little bit and let's talk about that intuition study highlight.
Yeah, this is a large study across the United States, which is recently launched, and we are actively enrolling, looking for thousands of individuals, especially individuals over the age of 60 who might be more at risk for dementia. And this is a study that's completely virtual. I'm sure we'll put some information up on the screen where you can go to our study website to learn more, the Intuition Study. And it's a completely virtual study designed to help us develop tools to monitor our brain health, to give patients, to give people the tools to keep track of how they're doing as they get older, so that if things change, that the person is alerted and they can come to their healthcare provider and say, I need a brain health evaluation. And so this is a study to help us develop those tools for people, to put the power of detection in people's hands. So what does it look like? Well, it's virtual. It's for pre-existing iPhone users. You have to have an iPhone, a smartphone, to get into the study. And you navigate through the study with an app on the iPhone that you download. And if you go to the website, the Intuition Study website, it directs you to where in the App Store to find it. Very straightforward, the Intuition Study. And you download the app and you learn a little bit about the study. What are we asking people to do? Well, not much, actually. Over the course of 2 years, we really asked people about 1 day's worth of activities, sort of spread out slowly over the study. And we give everyone an Apple Watch as part of the compensation for the study and several $100s to participate. And you can earn points as you use your phone as you normally would, as you wear an Apple Watch as much as is comfortable for you. And all of that information about how we move in the world, how we interact with the world, we're collecting to be able to understand healthy aging versus those who are getting the earliest stages of dementia, what we call clinically mild cognitive impairment, MCI. The earliest stages of dementia where you're just a little bit forgetful, a little bit of trouble with your day-to-day tasks, but you don't need someone else to perform those day-to-day tasks. So the study over 2 years is just using your phone as you normally would, wearing the watch as much as is comfortable for you, and to do a few memory and thinking activities. So once a month, we have people go to their computer and play some brain games, basically, doing some tasks where you're following different shapes and movements, and it's designed to challenge people, to challenge everyone, no matter where they're at, no matter what their education or age. So people do that once a month for a half hour, and they answer questions about their health every few months, and if there's been changes in their medications, changes in their day-to-day, their sleep, their mood, their stress. And all in all, it adds up to be about a day's worth of activities when it's all said and done. So the goal of this study is for us to develop a tool for patients to monitor their brain health with their smartphone, with their devices, so that they can be alerted to any changes as they age, if they seem to be going in a direction that suggests early stages of dementia.
Wow. So I love that this study is, we're putting in the information, we're learning about our brain health, and then we have tools that we can use to increase our brain health. But also, you alert us if there is some changes. Can you speak to that portion
That's
of it?
right. That's right. For those in the study that are older, that are doing the activities, if we do see some significant signs of change, we do tele-research sessions with some of our research team members where we find out a bit more. And if someone's worried and there has been changes, we encourage everyone to get a brain health examination. Anyone over 65 should ask their doctor in their annual visit if they could have a check-in about that. And that's about a sea change, a culture change that we're trying to promote, which is we think about heart health, we think about the health of our bodies, but we're not thinking about brain health as a society. And that's what a neurologist is, a guardian of the brain and a protector of the brain. And so my job is to spread the good news, so to speak, the message that we need to be thinking about brain health. We need to protect our brains with what we do today. It's never too late and it's never too early. There's stuff that we can do to contribute to age well.
Well, I love that. I love the idea, the concept. I want to talk about some feedback that I would hear and I've heard because I talked to you about the study. So we get an iWatch and we need an iPhone. So I'm sorry, Android users. Sorry. This is, God bless y'all. But iPhones is where it's at, y'all. We want y'all to get saved. Get the iPhone. But the iPhone, what version of the iPhone do we need to connect our app and this together?
So it's iPhone version 8 or newer. And of course, it's it's understandable people be frustrated if they are not an iPhone user and they still want to participate. Unfortunately, when you take a first step, you got to take it somewhere, and you got to take it with someone. And so this first step here is in the Apple product space. So for those that are iPhone users, they have to have a version 8 or newer to be eligible to download the app and enroll in the study. And if people already have an Apple Watch, they can use that, but everyone will still be sent or given a watch as a part of the compensation for the study. And you earn it. You earn it by doing the activities and getting points each month for doing the tasks.
And I love that you told us that we have once a month and then once quarterly, there's some tasks that we're asked to do and activities that we're asked to do to check out our brain health. And it's a 2-year commitment, you guys. So not asking you for a lot, but it's also helping you to be an advocate and to check in on your own brain health. So very good. Very good. I have a question about the intuition study. How many people over 60 do you need? Because I know you mentioned over 60, but you have a large age range that you're looking at. So how many people do you need?
We're looking for almost 20,000 people over 60, 18, 19,000. And those individuals, so the study is started, it was launched in September, and we have a few thousand people in the study, but they're mainly under 60. And now we're really starting to look to identify people 60 and up. So anyone involved in this faith community, in this broadcast, we're opening the enrollment up for anyone age 21 to 86. We're really wanting people 60 and up, but other family members that want to participate that are under 60, you're absolutely encouraged to be a colleague or a friend alongside someone who's in the 60 and up category.
Okay. And we have a large African American community. So I was wondering, how does that impact the study? And could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, a major flaw to research done in Western first world context is we study diseases and treatments in populations that don't represent the populations we want to treat. And that's risky because that doesn't always mean that what you got here in the study is going to be effective for everyone in society. So we've made it a goal to have representative individuals in terms of educational attainment, in terms of race and ethnicity that reflects the US population in general. And so it's very important that we have individuals of different backgrounds, even geographically diverse, right? We don't want 20,000 from New York City. You know, we love you at the Big Apple, but we need people that are in urban, suburban, and rural environments because these are the people across the United States. There's unfortunately, dementia does not respect countries, races, or creeds, and over 50 million people live with dementia worldwide, and about 6 million in the United States, and that probably is an underestimate. So we have to cut across and make sure that we are sampling our society as it exists today.
Well, thank you for that information. You all who are watching, you will see a link up here for our registration. If you want to be a part of this study and receive that iWatch and join in on this excellent study that's happening about us. It's for us. It's about us. We learn about our brain health. And the fact is, we have so many members that are all across the world. We have many cyber members from that span this whole world. So I'm excited that this is also offered to you. So if you're interested, please check out this link and download it, and you'll see it even on our website. So any questions? There's been so many things that Dr. Butler has covered today. So if you want to in the chat, go ahead and ask those questions. Dr. Butler is going to be actually answering those questions live. So you can ask your questions and he'll be responding to you right on that spot. So if you have any questions, I know we talked about dementia, we talked about Alzheimer's, the symptoms, the signs. Any questions you have is a good thing to ask right now. Questions about this study, ask them so we can get those questions answered for you from Dr. Butler. We thank you so much for being on today. This has been so informative. I am so excited for this study and to get this started and for us to join in on this study with you all.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I really appreciate your time and your guys' engagement in this exciting project.
Well, thank you again. So, family, surviving and thriving in a pandemic. This is another show that we've had today. We ask that you share this, share, like it, share it with everyone, someone that you know. We all have brain health. All of us have to take care of our brain. It's a part of the organ, I think, that we don't think about all the time. So let's go ahead and make sure that we're sharing this with everybody. We all have to do it at all ages. And let me let you know that we love you and we pray that you have a great, great week. Thank you for being here again, and we'll see you next time.
Is love transactional?
What is it? It's so good when you loving somebody and somebody loves you back. You know, you want that and somebody loves you back part.
What is love?
I feel like we just opened up the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.